Welcome to Friday. All righty. Whew. It is a beautiful day. Beautiful sunrise this morning. It was just looked very with the cityscape and how it was looking this morning. It was really, really cool because not all the lights were on because the sun was rising downtown. So the buildings looked kind of ominous and dark, kind of like Gotham City. And then the sun was just starting to rise because the sun rose this morning here in Calgary at 7:04 a.m. And so it was just starting to rise, and we were on the road just before 7 o'clock. And it was pretty. I wish I could have taken a picture this morning, but I was on Crowfoot. I really couldn't pull right over and say, "Hey, I'm stopping right now and taking a picture." Probably could have, but anyways, very beautiful, 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 beautiful. Clocks go ahead this weekend. You got it, baby. Yeah, we're springing ahead. So so let's spring ahead. Daylight saving time was started by an aristocrat in Europe, I believe. Could be wrong, but it was done by aristocrats so he could get longer tea time to play golf. So probably true, and here we still do it today. But it kind of messes up people with little kids and stuff. Even that 1 hour, it's amazing how 1 hour can really mess up your rhythm. And I'd rather fall back than spring forward, just saying. So right now it would be 11:09 instead of 10:09. Saskatchewan stays the same, I believe. And so where I think right now we're on the same time with Saskatchewan or who's ever on Central Time, and then when we fall back, they're an hour ahead of us once again. So yeah, yeah. Or we spring ahead and they are an hour behind. No. How does that work? Maybe I don't know. I just confused myself. Me too. Oh, yes. So no, they are on MB. Yeah, because we're on Mountain Time, they're on Central Time. I'm not sure what Manitoba's on. And so Manitoba, because I know back east, they're 2 hours ahead and they go forward, right? So everybody's going forward except Saskatchewan in that time zone. Yeah. We go ahead and skip, and skip stays the same. So no, we are going to be the same. So we're going to be the same. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lexi. Thanks for explaining that in my head because I was just like, hold on. Where did it go? The time left us. Oh, too funny. Too funny. Manitoba will be an hour ahead. Okay. There we go. That's fine. That's fine. I can handle all of that. Europe does the same thing. So England and that will be doing their little time changes as well. So, what is going on in the world? Welcome to Friday. Well, I guess people are freaking out over the TikTok thing. Where this was put into legislation or wanting to put it into law in 2020. And I think that was under Trump, and it was still on the books, so still staying there. It is very interesting. I was just listening to the whole kind of information on it, where they're wanting to ban the TikTok. People are freaking the fuck out over it. It's like it'll be banned in the United States, not anywhere else unless they get on the bandwagon. But just understanding how data is gathered, right? And that whole premises of understanding exactly how the data is collected and how they collect the data a lot differently than Instagram and Facebook, right? So a totally different way of collecting data than what TikTok does. And of course, and then it goes into China. So that's one of the reasons. And you got to also figure out, understand, with that collecting the data and it's going over to China, even though everybody's collecting data. I understand that all, but it's the process and the keystrokes that make the difference is we're going to war. So, I mean, that's one of the biggest things. We're going to war. And the person who controls the internet really, in actuality, and all lines lead to the United States. So, the United States is the overseer of the internet. So it'll be interesting how this all plays out in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting with everything. And the other, with this, and of course, this is very Piscean with all the Piscean energy. And of course, Mercury's conjunct Neptune. So people are going to be freaking out even more extremely than what they already freak out. So there's going to be major freakouts of freakouts. So people are just freaking out. And this is where it's just to chill. I mean, we're in the dark phases of the moon, all right? So we're in the balsamic moon, and it is a time of not getting out there and focusing on this and that and all over the, and getting yourself scattered. It's really a time of, you know, I would say of contemplation, of allowing yourself just to be in prayer and meditation, not overextending yourself in any particular way. Um, and not getting into freakouts, because this isn't a time of freakouts. This isn't a time to be freaking out over, oh, they said this and they did this and look at what they're doing over here. And because there are going to be a lot of false flags that are going to be raised up. And we're coming into this new moon, and the new moon is going to lead us into the eclipse season. And coming into the eclipse season, because we have a lunar eclipse at the end of the month, and then we have the big American solar eclipse that is on April 8th. And that is just freaking everybody out. I mean, there's biblical things that are coming out about it, and towns that are biblical, and where things are crossing, and that is, I mean, there is a lot that's coming out, with this eclipse, and the prelude to what you're seeing with this eclipse at this time. I mean, we're seeing a lot right now with P Diddy and that whole darkness that is with that, and the escapades that have gone on with that little honeypot, with him. And we're going to see, I mean, just his chart was pulled up. I think the Leo King pulled it up, and was looking at it. And when I looked at it, I just went, "Holy fuck! This guy has not been living a path where he was supposed to be coming in to live a path of truth, and to be outstanding, to be uh, the person who holds true values, right? And so he got the power that he was looking at. He got to the escalades where it shows in the chart where he would be, come to a place of prestige, and a place where he would have influence. Like you could see that, especially where his Mars is. But and then he had had an opposition, a Saturn opposition, which is, if you have a Saturn opposition, when I see that is really telling me that, okay, you really have to toe the line. If you're not towing the line, it's bad enough I got a square. I got a Saturn square. And that means I am always challenged on rules and regulations and the way things are done, and being and standing to my truth, and standing to where my boundaries are, and not going and getting into the seediness of life. And where I could see as a youth where that was, but it's a process of learning, right, as we're going through. So this is really, when looking at his chart, this is when we are looking at his chart, we can see that, especially with the eclipse and things that happen with him, and the things that are coming out, was just in the prelude of the eclipse. I think it was in 2015, and I think before that was in 95 or something. um where he's just on the decline. Like there's a huge decline, and the shit's going to hit the fan over the next 6 months as we're going through what is going to be revealed from this eclipse that is going to be coming on April 8th. And it is a big one. It is where things, there's going to be some craziness that's going to come out of it, but I feel it's going to be the aftermath of what is going to come out of everything. And this new moon is an activation to it all. So, what you are starting to see within this energy of this new moon and the power plays that are coming out during this new moon, you're going to start seeing the activation. This is activating a lot of the preludes of what's going on. So, we can start looking at, and I know um, what I do. I, who I look at and stuff like that. So, we have our prime minister is talking about hate speech, and well, right now he's being called the psychotic prime minister. It's not far from the truth, is it? So we have that. Elon Musk, Alex Jones censored on Twitter as Elon Musk's ex brings back a banning. So he's banning, that was 6 days ago, but being banned. But Alex Jones is back up on Twitter. If you don't know who Alex Jones is, I'm not going to explain that. Alex Jones is a very outspoken man. Love him or hate him, whoever he is, for whatever he does. Just some of the things in the rhetoric that he's come out has been proven the truth. And he's been going on about some other things recently and, saying things. So, and he's got videotapes and stuff about the Bohemian Rhapsody and things like that. That's coming out as well. So that's all we're seeing, as I said, as Pluto leaves leaves Capricorn, there is sort of like he leaves it and then it stews, and all of this seediness is starting to come up to the surface and throwing things out that have been there, but we don't really know or haven't seen how far back a lot of this goes and how it how that root has seeded so many other sort of saplings in and around within our society. So a lot of this is coming out, and people are witnessing it and they're seeing it. So this is where, and especially with the Neptune conjunct, with Mercury, is just going to bring out a lot of craziness, a lot more psychotic energies with that. And you got to remember that the farther out the planets, the slower they move. So Mercury being 88 days, he's just like, I want to get it. I want to get it. But he's going over this Neptune, where Neptune is at 27 degrees, is where Neptune is going to be he's holding that energy, and it's going to start coming out as he progresses closer to like into Pisces. So this is going to be really progressing a lot more of the craziness. And that's when you look at the Pisces, there's good and bad to every sign, right? So on the good side, Pisces is the connection to God and the angels and spirituality, and coming into the oneness and allowing ourselves to flow with that of our divine, and trusting within the divine energies. And moving forward, the seediness is that you could come out and look that way, but behind the scenes there is some grossness with drugs and alcohol and crazy fantasies and dreams and all of that can get you into the sort of the underbelly of nasty. And that's another thing is, this is water. So if you ever watched as tides come in, or as the water comes in, if you live by a lake, you watch as the water comes in and it leaves all of this stuff on the shores, right? So it leaves all of this stuff on the shores, and as it's leaving all this stuff on the shores, it's like there has to be cleanup, because it's disgusting, right? A lot of the seaweed, a lot of this black stuff comes up, and garbage and everything sort of starts coming upon the shore. So that's what the water does. It's clearing, it's cleansing, it's bringing this all to the shore, and it has to be sorted and and cleaned out. So here we are in this, just this coming to shore, and we're looking at it and we're unsure. We're unsure. So this is where we can go into some really craziness. And especially with a Mars square Uranus, it's like I want to just go ahead and just do this and and be that activation, be that forward motion. And Uranus in Taurus is about building something of goodness, of our values, of something of stabilization within our world. And we're seeing that so much other stuff is trying to push us to be unstable. And where a lot of, when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to Bitcoin, a lot it's being propped up. And we have a, going, further. Of course, I'm not, I'm sort of at the latter end of being a real baby boomer. I'm sort of a baby boomer, Gen X, I guess. I'm that in between kind of, don't know where to put me. What else is new, right? Um, you know, Time zone. So anybody who's over the age of 65 is in that generation where there was generation wealth, where there was, money to be handed down, where they have, pensions, and they have a lot of, some of them have multiple houses and or houses that are paid off. And so we have this generation that's there and who've been living fairly well. The next generation, so that would be my children. We'll just pass it right down to my children. So my kids that are coming in are not going to have that. They're not going to have what all of this is. And this is where I got how it works with the astrology and how it works. This is where it comes to showing you where you have to come back. And it is that rebirthing and regrowing of things, of life, of the world around you, of a new, you could call it world order, or a new way of doing things, doing instrumentally doing community and bringing community together. And where many of this Gen Z, whatever, are complaining, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. It's going to be where that next generation, the alpha and the betas that were born, are going to be the ones that are going to say, hey, w- you know because they're not going to have it. So they're just going to be like the ones that are saying, we have to create this. We have to rebuild this. We have to make sustainability. How are we going to do it? How are we going to create a new sustainable community, a world where it's not built? Because, a lot of the rulers that are in at this time are either a Gen Xer or a boomer. And they're not a millennial. Like Trudeau's fucking not a millennial. He's a Gen Xer. So this is where we're finding that energies, our life is going to change, and life isn't clear cut. That's the thing. And in what I'm studying right now and things like that, I mean, we could go back. It's thousands of years. Nothing is clear cut. And we find ourselves in a broken world. We find ourselves in a world that has ups and downs and turns and craziness. And we're on there is this um, vengeance, a need for justice, but we move forward. We need to move forward. But the life is not a straight line. The line is all over the place. It's like blah, 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 blah. So it's like a fish out of water at times. And even when we're following our divine path, our spiritual path, it's not a straight path. There are twists and turns and undercurrents that pull us sometimes to the bottom and depths that we never even thought we would go to. But in that, it gets us to really look at and begin to see how we are wanting to create something new, how we are wanting to create something more harmonious. And it's not going to happen, say, right away. These next few years, and even like when I look at Mateus and I look at all of the kids that he goes to school with, and you know how parents are complaining that how um, schools are overpacked. By the time Mateus goes into high school, the schools are not going to be crowded because of the amount of deaths, because there's not as many births. So he is one of the generations that are going to be having to look at, okay, how are we going to repopulate things? Because even if we look at the baby boomers, there was like 5 people working for that one person's pension, or 20 people, or however it is, however the stats work. But there's a lot of people working for that person's pension. Now, we're coming to, by the time a millennial or a Gen Xer, uh, not a Gen Xer, or the ones after the Gen Z, retire, get close to retirement, there is nothing. There's nothing. So if you're in your 30s or 40s, or even if you're in your 50s, there's not going to be a pension there. I'm just, there's not going, because there's not the people to work it. I mean, it's a total Ponzi scheme as it is, but there isn't there's not going to be enough of a population to put into that. So that's why there's a needing of restructuring. There's a need to restructure the whole of it all. But that's not going to come until, or to begin until, I would say, after, I'm going to go by Mateus. Mateus is going to be 9 this year. So I'm going to say it's going to take him till he's 19. And then you're going to start, really, within that 10 years is going to be a dramatic decline in our society, in the way our world is put together, and how we are wanting to restructure that, and how we are going to look at it. So for me, who I am not in my 50s anymore, um, looking at the world right now, it's like, okay, by the time I get to 65, if there is going to be a pension, that's pretty iffy. That's pretty iffy to say, for me to even look at that, and that's scary to even look at that possibly not being there, right? And this is okay. We're going back to this energy, where this new moon is the beginning of the eclipses that are going to be bringing in a lot of the major changes that we are going to be seeing played out over the next several years, from the crazy things from P Diddy to to that Adderall speech from Biden, which was totally just like, listening to him is just like, oh my god, that would be like me on some kind of speed, because I am not, I don't know, I've never been diagnosed, but I really don't think I'm ADHD. Um, but putting me on that, I would just be like, where somebody who goes on it really ends up functioning normal. They're very, they're more methodical in the way that they think and everything else. Last night he was just like, he was out there, he was crazy. So, and that is, right now we're seeing 2 presidents running that are basically um baby boomers, right? So we're seeing sort of the enchilada of this energy going out, going upon the shores, and we're going to be wondering how to clean up that bloody mess that's on the shore. But that exiting of the old realm, and as that's why I say in 10 years, because whoever gets in, or however it turns out, which is going to be very interesting. Um, it's going to be quite a crazy ride. Now, we do have a lot that's coming to the surface right now. We're being pushed into um, into a war economy, and that's the other part too. It's like, if we're being pushed into a war economy, people with housing, even though that they're saying it's staying at 5, I can't see them keeping it at that percentage, just saying. That's when you're gonna start seeing things starting to escalate and go a little bit crazier. So things are going to start escalating, going a little bit crazier. And, where many, we're going to go back to that escalation. There's so many things going through my head today. Um, when it comes to where my dad bought his place, say at $47,000, and he sold it for close to $400,000, right? Those who buy their houses now will not get that. They're not going to get that type of return because there's going to be such a drop in the market and such a change in the market. Because when the baby boomers are gone and they die and all of that flood of property and stuff comes to the market, will downplay the market, but then we're going to have a generation that can't afford it, that are going to be looking at how do we redistribute this? How does this get redistributed? Because it sure in the hell is not going to be left to their descendants. And so we are going into a place where the biggest sacrifice is going, is happening. Like we're also seeing what is the biggest sacrifices that you are needing to make within your own life in order to create something. And then we're also going to see other people, others that will be out there that are going to be sacrificed in different ways. So that's, don't want to say too much on this platform because I could get banned again. And because of so much else that's coming down the chute too. So this is where we are needing to look at how we are structuring our lives, how we are coming into our spiritual ways of doing things, and how we can maintain this. Well, maintain is not even a word. Well, it is a word, but it's not the word I'm looking for. But this is where we need to really look at the structures of what it is that we are wanting to create within our own world, right? So just looking at some things here. So yeah, this new moon is powerful in Pisces. And if you're wanting a new moon reading, get a hold of me. They're $40. And I will send that out to you over the next couple days. So this is, conjuncting what is it? There is a planet, it's called Hygiena, I think it's called, or Hydrena. And this is very Neptunian. So this is really going to bring in some crazy intuitions, feelings, escapism. This is, this weekend is really going to get people where they don't want to deal with the day-to-day, everyday kind of things, or even deeper. So this is also where I call, because of the changes of the energies that are going to be quite watery and dramatic, a very high psychotic weekend for people. So emotions are going to be running very high. Um, and this Piscean season, emotions are running higher than usual. Saturn is going to try and slow it down, with its weight and with its, with it wanting to bring in that structure. But the desire, because of the overload of feelings and the feeling of feeling lost or feeling out of touch or not being able to do the things I wanna do now. TikTok being banned. I can't get on my TikTok. They're gonna ban it. They're gonna ban it right away. It's gonna take a little bit. But, with that thought where people are, really freaking out. Well, this is the time, when you see the writing on the wall, how are you gonna make the changes in your life? What are you gonna do to make the changes in your life? What is it that you're going to create? Maybe what you're doing right now is not gonna be what you're gonna be doing in 5 years from now. That's even saying for me, just because I'm doing readings right now, am I going to be doing that in 5 years from now? I think I am, but there's other energies or other information that's coming in that I'm mulling over of the direction that I would like, that I feel, yeah, I feel better in it. But again, there's a whole lot that comes in with emotions and, oh my God, what are people going to think? Is that the right move? And all of these up and down and crazy emotions that are coming in. Because one of the biggest things, and I'm going to say it right out now, do I want to continue doing mediumship? No, I don't. And that's a huge one because that's what people know me for. Will it come in? Definitely. Mediumship will come in. Do I want to continue being advertised as a psychic medium? Not really. Not really. Um, one, because I think the amount of deaths that are going to be coming in are going to be tremendous, and it's going to be very hard um, to take in. Two, I know how I've been trained by a beautiful woman called my grandma, who showed me how to deal with things that are on a huge death place. And I mean, she went through 2 world wars and saw it tremendously, the amount of wars, especially after World War I and then World War II as well. So she understands that, there's a need for people definitely to help others, with that transitioning and with those that have passed over, but not being that your forefront of an offer, and looking at it, what is it that other things that you are able to offer, and that's spiritual guidance, and being that spiritual guidance, being that person that can help you with the spiritual road and rebuilding your spiritual self in a place or in a world that is going to be totally dismantled, and a world that is right now coming, that is definitely coming under siege. And we will be needing more spiritual leaders. We'll be needing people who are able to guide others on a path and an understanding of that path, where you can help them in their prayers or their meditations, and understanding the loss that will be being had by many. And we're seeing it now, although you're not being told about it, but um it's just like you're not being told about the amount of premature babies that are dying, or the stillbirths that are happening. One of the nurses in the ward at Foothills is a client of mine, and she's even seen. She goes, "I've never seen so many stillbirths." Like, yeah, we have stillbirths. Yes, the they call them sleeping angels, will come in, but she goes, it is so many that are happening. And so many other things that have never happened, where are operations in the womb, where they're having to operate on the babies in the womb before they're born, because either heart problems, kidney things, all kinds of, it's a miracle that they're able to do that. That's one thing. But then there's no guarantee when the child is born how long that child's going to live. Are they going to have sustainable life, kind of thing? So there's going to be so many craziness that's going to come in, where for me, um, definitely being, the psychicness, the intuitiveness is there. But, the mediumship, is one of the ones that, yeah, it's wonderful to talk to your loved ones. It's wonderful to connect to your loved ones, but it's almost where, and I've written this in some of my, downloads, it's like, that's not where people have to focus. And that's the message I was getting from a lot of those who've passed over, that it's not to focus on those who've passed over. It's wonderful that you are wanting to connect with them. It's wonderful that you are wanting to be with them, but you have to move forward into your life, and move forward onto your earth path, and work within. Woo, I just got dizzy as I'm saying that. So I know the energies are coming in, to really work on the path of how you are able to create a world in instability. And the ancestors are definitely there. And I think when I think of death, a happy International Day. Oh, I don't get me going on that, because I got a whole thing on International Women's Day thing. Anyways, of when people who've passed away come in, it's usually your recent relatives and stuff. When I talk about your ancestors, I'm talking about people from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, that have really forged a way for us to build. And um, where from their experience or from their lines is what we have to draw from, because they're the ones who have gone through traumatic situations in the world, um, and who had to rely on their own self-reliance. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm receiving, is that you have to start to begin to rely upon your gifts, what is internal within you, in order to create and rebuild a world that is going to be coming in, especially over the next few months, that you're going to see is the starting of the breakdown. It's starting of the dismantlement. I mean, we've started to see it before, but this is more into our eyes, more into our eyes. I did have a question from someone and asked me about our PM, and saying, we got to get rid of him, we got to get him out of there. And are they going to get him out of there? It's going to be a very interesting flight to try and, like, there's just there's just so much dismantlement that has to happen in order to oust him. um but who are we replacing it with? That's the whole thing. It's like the whole system, even though we're replacing them with somebody who you think is better, in some instances is yes, but no, because it's still part of the same system. And it's that system that has to be broken down. It's that system that has to be, you know, brought to the forefront. So it's just like our monarch, our monarch, um, passing away. So we're going to have two monarchs that are going to be passed away in our lifetime. Most of us have never lived with that. Past, they had Victoria, and then they had Edward. And then, how many kings and queens before you had Queen Elizabeth, right? So we had this progression of kings and queens. Like there's like Victoria, Edward, I think George, and then Queen Elizabeth, because advocated. So, so there's like three. So my father lived through four monarchs, basically, or three monarchs. My grandmother lived through four monarchs. We've only lived through one, and now we're going to be living through, we're going to have another one pass away and a third one come up. And that third one's going to be very unique when William takes charge. So that's going to be a very unique next course, and that's going to be bringing in dramatic change in how things, because of his way of thinking, his youthfulness of what's going to come to the forefront, and how that change is going to happen. So it's going to be an interesting, this next few months, how it's going to really take a huge effect, and we are going to start really seeing how things are going to take a dramatic spin within the world around us. And um how things are going. I'm just looking at some of my notes. I can't even say some of the things I wrote down, um because they all have to do with um Puff Diddy, or whatever, P Diddy, and some of the things that are coming up with that. So yes, and Cynthia, Women's Day, National Women's Day, International Women's Day, which is a beautiful thing. I think that's great. But my take on it is that it has to be for biological women. And I'm going to say that. And it's not, it's being taken away. And it's wonderful. Like, yeah, we're celebrating women, but are we celebrating women? It was actually more of a celebration of the dismantlement of what a woman is. And if women really want to keep International Women's Day, then they got to keep it with women, not with women who think that they are women, or women who want to be women, or whatever it is. It has to stay true to the form of what it is, especially for what women are, and the things that women have had to go through and fight for, in order for them to be seen, for them to be able to, I mean, we couldn't even have a credit card till the 70s that was in our own name, right? So that's where, when it comes to International Women's Day, I have a huge, it has to stay with women. It cannot stay. I don't give me no fucking spokesman with a guy who had a penis or a guy who still has a ding dong and he wants to tell me what the fuck it means to be a woman. No fucking way. Give birth to 4 fucking children, go through postpartum depression, have your boobs leak like crazy when you're in the middle of a line, when a baby cries and you have 3 in the stroller, 1 in the basket, and your boobs are out here and you're leaking and you're like the bloody fire brigade out in the middle of the ocean that's going like this, trying to put it out, No, International Women's Day is for women. Women, not for some dingle dangle bastard. That really that gets me. It's when I saw that this morning, and it just sort of like it just irked me, right? Things about it just the underlying disgustedness of what is being done, where there's this one professor or whatever the fuck who she is, goes up in front of Congress and tells me I'm a biological or something carrier of children, and that trans can be pregnant and carry. No, they fucking can't. Not unless they're an actual woman, has a womb and a uterus and carries eggs, right? Like, fuck off. That is just no, no. Don't tell me that I'm transphobic. Go shove it up your fucking ass about being transphobic. I am fucking not transphobic. I don't give a shit what you do in the back room. I don't give a shit if you got a dingle dangle and boobs. Whatever. That's you. But don't come and tell me you're a woman. Don't come and tell me just because you just took some hormone pills for the last 6 months, now you can tell me what it's like to be a fucking woman. No bloody way. No way. You didn't have to go through the first time of having your menstrual cramps or getting a period when you're 13 and then you're all of a sudden go to the bathroom and you have to run home because you're fucking bleeding. Nobody had a tampon. Nobody had anything. Those types of things. Or all the myths and everything that you were told when you were growing up about having a period as a woman. Oh my goodness. Yes. International Women's Day is something that needs to be cherished with women and needs to be kept into the sacred circle of the sisterhood of women. And when I see the sacredhood of sisterhood being brought together with women, I do take offense when I see a person who says that they are a woman now that want to join into that sisterhood. It's very hard for me to accept that. I understand the transitions or whatever you're going through, but to actually declare that you are a woman, a truth of a woman, then no, fuck off. It's like when they, with women who've abuse centers, first transition in that homes for women. I don't think trans should be in there. They should have their own, have set up your own fucking house, like, because it can trigger women so immensely on that. And there are some that do take in, that's fine, but there's just so many layers to this all, right? So many layers to this all. And I think when I see it, and then I see you're woman of the year, and I'm like, you haven't even been a woman. You're a woman of the year, and you just decided to transition in the last 3 years and call yourself a fucking woman and tell me that you've been living that life of a woman all your life. No, you haven't. You haven't. When somebody comes to me and says, well, I don't know what a woman is. Really? Spread your legs and I'll tell you what the fuck a woman is. That's the thing, that's where you find, and we're going to go back to the astrology and we're going to go back to what's going on. That's when you find that society is falling apart. That's when you have Pluto in Capricorn showing you what is falling apart within your society. That's when you have Neptune in Pisces making these crazy, daydreamy, nutty, illusionary energies come in and have people believe it. That's where you find where, especially with Uranus going into um, Taurus, wanting to create something fundamental of your values and beliefs and get you to really look at your belief system, look at your values. What do you believe? What is it that you value? And live with it and stand with that truth and not be afraid. Where we were tested in 2019, in 2020, 21, 22, we were tested with a psyops to say, I can manipulate your beliefs. I can manipulate everything that you say and think and be. And when somebody stands up and says the counter to that, they are deemed as evil or mean or whatever. When you have people like, how many people loved, I never liked P. Diddy anyways, people like P. Diddy and the shit that he did. And the people like that are associated with him just that one interview with Justin Bieber, it makes me cringe. It makes me cringe that a mother would hand her child over to him. First of all, I'm married to a black man. If another black man came in and said, "Hey, I'm Mr. Puff Diddy. I want to take out your son can come over." Fuck you. You ain't touching my boy. You ain't getting near him. I don't give a shit who you are. You're a rapper. You're bullshit. I don't give a fuck what you have to give. Like, that's just a whole nother thing. But we had, when my kids were little, we went to Vancouver and I had to go, I had to go do something. So I went and did something and sort of separated. And I told we'd meet back here. And my kids came running up. This lady wants us, and she's been following us. And it's funny because when I showed up and they said, well, yeah, well, she just wants to meet us. She's just over there. I looked over there and I looked at her and she looked at me. She left. And I'm like, holy shit. I said, no. My kids were so mad. We're going to be famous. No, you weren't going to be famous. You're going to be thrown into some kind of, it's hard to explain to kids at that time, some kind of crazy mill that, just because the thought of fame is there. It's just like, the Playboy Mansion. And he was talking about, oh yes, I want to promote women and I'm for women and all. No, you're not. You're a fucking pedophile. That's what you are. Hugh Hefner was the biggest pedophile and out there being a pedophile, because how many young girls came to his mansion? And people are like, oh yeah, but in order for you to get your right, in order for you to get your fame, you got to go through here. It's like, you got to go through this gateway. I'm the gatekeeper. You got to go through me in order to get that bullshit. And that's the same thing that they're doing for women. You got to go through this and do this in order for you to be a real woman, or be this, or I can show you how to be a real woman. No fucking way. Fuck off. Sorry about all the swearing. So, am I doing the $10 readings? No, I'm not doing the $10 readings right now. I just came on to do a little chit chat and stuff today. So no, and then I have to work tonight. I was thinking of doing it tonight. Have to work tonight, and then my son is cooking me dinner tonight. So we're going over to his house for dinner. So, but thank you. I will try and do the $10 readings. Yeah. I don't think doing them every weekend is a good, like, just watching how things go, or I might change it up too. Change it up a bit. So, yeah, that is nice. So, sorry about my little rant, but there's just a lot that is, coming forth for us all, and we really have to stay firm in our truth and in our values. And that's going to be the biggest piece for things, and making sure to keep the sacredness for our young women that are coming up. Right? Keeping that sacredness is so important. And so that they are able to stand in their own truth of who they are, um, is going to be a big one, and trying to keep them safe. Safe is a big one, but I know we can't always do that. But this is where it's like keeping them to a place where they can be expressive in the people that they would like to be. And I think for women for so long have had to fight for that, um and fight for that, right down to what we can wear, and what we cannot wear. So anyways, I'm going to pull a card quickly, just grabbing this deck because it's right there, um and just pull a card for you all. Thank you, Lexi. Thank you. I know it's kind of crazy. My truth can come out very, very quickly on certain things. Oh, and I feel like men need to be real men. Like there's something about this. I forget the words that are used for describing how men. Eddie Tracy. This new form of how men are, and that was my son calling, of course. But this new form of how like men uh who want to groom themselves and look good and shave, and if they have a unibrow, maybe clear up the brows and make sure their hair looks good. Is They don't want men to be that way. Why not? Look good, work out, do your thing. You're a young man, look great, keep healthy, and right down to being the man who wants to be self-sufficient and be able to um create a better world for themselves and be the protector for others, and be, that's part of being a man's role. Maybe I'm just old fashioned, but that's just the way it is. Yeah, you got to have the strength. So over this day, have that strength, and don't get involved in other people's bullshit. Try not to. Don't get involved in other people's. Just allow yourself to just maybe go by, enjoy the sunshine today, get outside, get in nature, connect, and not get too, don't get too involved and overly emotional. In comes the king, and he's reversed, and he's saying don't get, when the king of is reversed, this is like, no, don't get emotionally involved in bullshit today. It's just sort of like, thank you very much, have a blessed day, I'm going this way. So stay strong out there. May the Lord and Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you, and all you say and all you be and all you do. If you're wanting a new moon reading, please let me go. They are 40. Let me know. They're $40. And we will talk to you soon. I better go before my son calls again. Gotta love that. Bye-bye, everyone.